The growing resentment of the colonists against British control culminated in a dramatic display of rebellion in Boston Harbor called the Boston Tea Party. It all started in 1773, when Britain wanted to save one of its prominent companies, the East India Tea Company, from bankruptcy. It allowed that company to sell surplus tea directly to colonists, bypassing colonial merchants along the way. The colonists were furious. As they saw it, Britain was trying to give a British company a monopoly on American soil. And by bypassing the American tea merchants who traditionally collected taxes, it was cheating the Americans out of money. The colonists decided to boycott East India tea, but for some colonists, a boycott didn't go far enough. Samuel Adams, one of the leaders of the Sons of Liberty, a vigilante group intent on protecting colonial rights, saw the tax on tea as an opportunity to rally support against British rule. On December 16, 1773, Samuel Adams and the Sons of Liberty organized about 100 Bostonians, disguised themselves as Indians, and boarded the ships.
They chopped open the tea and threw it all into Boston Harbor, destroying quite a lot of money.
Onlookers cheered as Boston Harbor became an enormous teapot. Governor Hutchinson fled the city, never to return. Not a single ounce of the several thousand chests of tea shipped by the East India Company ever reached colonial stores. On the 19th of April, 1775, two of the most significant battles leading up to the American Revolution were fought in the Massachusetts countryside. The Battle of Lexington lasted minutes and left 8 Americans dead. A much bigger confrontation awaited the British at Concord, where they'd been ordered to seize American ammunition. At a bridge leading into Concord, the British were met by hundreds of farmer soldiers. 2 colonists and 3 British soldiers were killed in the skirmish at Concord Bridge. But the fighting continued to escalate as the British were forced to turn back toward Boston. Thousands of Americans gathered in the hills and woods along the road. The Americans fired from behind trees, rocks, houses, and barns.
And after a while, the British started to realize that outside the town of Concord, there was hundreds of Americans, all of them with guns. And they had to go all the way back to Boston. It was a long way. As they went through towns on the way back to Boston, there were people in every window of the town shooting at them.
900 reinforcements joined the British when they reached Lexington on their way back to Boston, but they were still outnumbered.
Well over 7,000 Americans in the field, and the British never had more than about maybe 2,000 at the most. So the Americans were very confident that they could beat the living daylights out of these British, and they did. And finally, the British got back to Boston. The guns of the British fleet were there to protect them. At the end of it, the British knew that they were in a war.
By the end of the day, on April 19, 1775, the Americans had lost 49 men, the British 73. Days later, thousands of American men aging from 16 to 60 marched to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where they hoped to join the war, which had finally begun.